Hello and welcome to Frank's School, 96th day of the fourth year. I'm going on with the guided viewing of the history of Britain. That is my intent here. And it's taken turns that I had not expected, as I've explained before. Well, I paused a little bit, and who knows where this is really going to go. I'll explain about that in a moment. Anyway, this man, Raymond Snyder, I guess is how you say it, his playlists, that's where I found how the Celts saved Britain. I found it on his playlist, and then I got looking at all these other playlists, really interesting to me. Why he would collect those particular videos. And on it, and which some of the men I'd never heard of, but Noam Chomsky was there, and I had a timely reminder that I probably need to examine this man's work closer. I've known about him for a very long time. First of all, as a linguist, but I need to look more at that, and as I do so, maybe I'll tell you more about that. Anyway, how the Celts saved Britain, I really enjoyed that. It's 2 hours long. Daniel Snow is the host, and he walks around, and it's very well done. That idea that the Celts had saved Britain, well, had saved civilization in a way for Western Europe. I'd first heard that in Kenneth Clark's Civilization, a series. He wrote a book. And there's a documentary. I'm sure that's online. I haven't looked. I'd actually thought about using it. I still think a little bit about using it in my course, maybe in the 5th year. I don't know though. It's not as flashy as more modern day videos, but very good and interesting. Well, as I was looking at this stuff, the term "innocent abroad" came to my mind. That's Mark Twain's term. He wrote a book, Innocence Abroad, as Americans traveled to Europe and ran into this stuff. And then I read it. I didn't read the sequel. I think A Scamp Abroad was a sequel to it. Didn't read it. But Americans, in general, know so little about European history, and I'd almost dare say about the rest of the world. I don't want to offend Americans, but I think it's an inescapable truth. They live under that bright light, and so I'm running. As I say before, I'm a fairly well-educated man for an American, and I run into things that I'd never heard about before. Well, it's not my country. I mean, I'm not from Britain. I'm from the United States, but still. It's our heritage. Now, so anyway, and I delight, because I delight in learning. I love to learn. I love to teach. Gladly would he learn and gladly teach, was the scholar in Chaucer's Canterbury Tales. I often think of that. Gladly would he learn and gladly teach. Sounding in moral virtues was his speech. And gladly would he learn and gladly teach, or something like that. Sounding in moral virtues was his speech, and gladly would he learn and gladly teach. Well, I love to learn, and I love to teach. Anyway, I'm learning, and who knows to what extent it's going to go on, because I'm using this, as I said before, as a paradigm, as a way to keep going through time. And I've taken quite a pause here. I'm going to get going now soon, faster. The Book of Kells, unbelievable, just wonderful. He presents it as such, and I knew it was wonderful before, but maybe I didn't realize how wonderful it was before I watched this. Now, since I'm looking at this history now through the lens of a decentralist, things look so different. For me, and my viewers may not even be able to go with me on this, because it's what I'd said before. If you shift your viewpoint, you see things in such a different light. Mortar. I looked at, as I'm looking at stuff in the background, the walls began to get mortar. Was that a good thing? I don't know. Mortar takes more energy. It takes more kilocalories to heat the material to make the mortar. Is that better than dry stone? Yeah. I don't know. I think like that now. I just think, oh, mortar, that's nice. Uh, St. Patrick and Columba, I don't know if I've spelled this right, were they actually good? I mean, these are saints. But is what they did good, uh, for the Picts? I don't accept that immediately. Even literacy, was that a good thing to take them literacy? How can somebody even talk like that, you would maybe say. But a decentralist questions that, at least this decentralist does, even civilization itself. Look what it's done. I don't know. I don't want to get into this too much. But anyway, as I'm watching this, I hear about the papacy, the Pope. And of course, I've said about this before. The Pope was a prime example of centralization. The centralized church, centralized in Rome. And that was resisted by Ireland. The Roman Empire had been centralized, but it collapsed. But then the Christian church became centralized, and we'll hear more about that later on. So interesting, I had never heard this, that the question of the date of Easter, off by a week, I think it was, Ireland eventually gave in, and I like the man's comparison to accepting the euro as a common currency. Okay, we'll go with everybody else, and we'll say Easter was what the Pope says it was. Real interesting, because the European Union, of course, is another example of centralization. Now, you're going to hear a lot about that as we go. Well, I'm wandering, I'd almost say lost, except that I'm going to keep going, marching through time. So 1066 will be where I'm heading for next time. Bye for now.